So, not much is known right now about a supposed Street Fighter 6. There's only a few things we really have to go off of on what the future of this fighting game franchise looks like. Number one, Luke is involved in some way, shape, or form. This was the last DLC character for Street Fighter V. Luke is a cool blonde boy, and apparently he's going to be the main character of this next game. I'm not really sure how I feel about that, but at least we know something. We know at least a glimpse of what Street Fighter 6 could possibly be. Next is that Yoshinori Ono is out the building. He is no longer with Capcom. Yoshinori Ono sort of revived Street Fighter with Street Fighter 4 and was involved with Street Fighter 5 and its competitive scene. He was a huge brand ambassador and really pushed these games forward and showed them off and got the crowd riled up. He no longer belongs with Capcom. He's working for some mobile company now, or a mobile game company, I should say. We have new producers, we have new people that are sort of the face of Street Fighter going forward. Some younger people, I believe, people that are a little more relatively new to the company. And that kind of excites me there. So with this video, I wanted to go down sort of a small list of things that I think Street Fighter needs to do to be successful. How to make Street Fighter successful. How to make Street Fighter 6 successful. Something along those lines. Number one, and this is probably the most important thing, and I think a lot of people would agree with me here, a lot of people in the FGC would agree with me here, Street Fighter 6 needs to look drastically different. I think that was one of the biggest issues with Street Fighter 5 is that, from the outside looking in, it was very similar looking to Street Fighter 4. It didn't improve too much. I mean, it looks better. It definitely looks better than Street Fighter 4. The character models look better. The textures, everything looks and moves and feels better. It's obviously a sequel, but if you're standing 10 feet away, it looks like Street Fighter 4. It looks like exactly like Street Fighter 4. The models are very much similar. The art style is exactly the same. It's just improved upon. I'm thinking for a Street Fighter 6 that we need a whole new art style. Look at the contemporaries right now. Look at Guilty Gear Strive, look at Dragon Ball FighterZ. These games have this amazing sort of cel-shaded 2D look. I'm not saying Street Fighter 6 should look like that. I'm not saying that that's the route that they need to take, but they definitely need to do something different and drastic to get people excited again. To get people to, when you see that trailer, whoa, this is Street Fighter? This is what it looks like now. I want to say that for Street Fighter. I want something to sort of just reinvigorate these characters. I want Ryu to look weird. Luke needs to look weird. I'm okay if it does look super weird. I think going back to hand-drawn would be spectacular. I think that would be a revelation. Obviously, I'm a huge fan of hand-drawn stuff. I love the way Guilty Gear Strive looks. I love Blaze Blue and obviously the earlier Street Fighter games, that Third Strike game. Those look fantastic and still hold up. Still hold up today. I think Street Fighter 3 still looks fantastic today. Just the way Ryu's gi moves, the way Q's jacket moves, it just looks absolutely stunning still. And is honestly a technical feat to this day. I think we should go back there. I really do. I know it's a lot harder in some ways. I know that can be very time consuming. I know Street Fighter 3 was in development for a while. But yeah, I really do think that looking different is the first step of success. I think that is one of the more important steps of success, is that this needs to feel like a brand new experience. Now, I'll be honest with you, I'm not the biggest Street Fighter fan. I love the IP, but just recently, like Street Fighter 5, I'm not a huge fan of. I'm not a huge fan of, again, the art style for one, and I purchased the game at day one and got kind of burnt out because there wasn't too much to do with a day one Street Fighter 5. It was pretty barren. The multiplayer was a little lacking in some areas. The single player was non-existent basically. So there was a lot of issues at launch, and I think that is one of the second things. You need to make sure that this game has a fantastic launch. It needs to be ready. The game needs to be ready, where you don't need to add content to the game for at least 6 months. You need this game to feel like a complete video game. Story mode's already there. You have all these other single player modes. Online is robust. Rollback netcode, that sort of thing. Obviously, rollback netcode would be a huge get as well. I kind of think that everything is kind of going in that direction now. I mean, I know obviously there's still some devs and companies that are struggling with rollback netcode. I know it's not exactly super easy to implement, You need good rollback netcode for it to like really shine. But I have to believe that Capcom wants to put that there, especially in COVID days now. Like, they realize that like we need a failsafe for, you know, Pro Tours. We need good online so we can have these tournaments at Evo, or, you know, an Evo that might exist. I don't know. But definitely rollback netcode. But definitely the game needs to feel complete. The game needs to be a cohesive video game right from the get-go, and that goes towards the roster, towards the content, modes, everything. It needs to feel complete, and that kind of goes without saying. Lastly, I will mention sort of the biggest thing, and I've heard Maximilian dude, big member of the FGC, big guy over on Twitch and YouTube and everything, I've heard him mention this before, and to some criticism, and I 100%, I've mentioned this in my streams, I've talked about this before. I think Street Fighter 6 needs to be free to play. I know that's wild, but I think a free to play battle pass sort of model would really, I think a fighting game could really benefit from that. I truly do. I think that having a sort of battle pass, you release 3-4 characters every battle pass, and you just get them. That's it. You got the characters. It's like 15, maybe even $20. You get these characters. If you don't want the characters, you don't have to get them. You know, you could have cosmetics. You could even have, like, you got to complete your battle pass. You know, you have to level things up and play as these certain characters. You could even have dailies. You could have dailies and weeklies and all kinds of interesting community challenges. You could do that. And I know that's scary. I know a lot of people are like, oh, I don't want Fortnite Street Fighter. You know, I understand that. I honestly think it would give players a reason to come back to the game consistently. Having dailies, again, if the game doesn't play good, and if the game is not an enjoyable experience, people will not return. I don't think, like, oh, you could just throw this in any game and it would be successful. Absolutely not. The game needs to be good, but in my head, theoretically, like, yeah, Street Fighter 6 is gonna rule. So having dailies gives the player the choice to continue to return to the game. And there's also a low ceiling, and I think that that's really important as well. You know, a lot of newcomers that jump into fighting games get discouraged really quickly. You know, they bought Street Fighter 4 and got smoked immediately online. You know, they spent $60 in the game. They're not going to want to spend another $60 on Street Fighter 5. You just lost a fan right there because they spent $60 on a brand new fighting game and got destroyed and didn't have very much fun. And that sucks, but that is a situation that does exist for a lot of people where they just don't have good times with fighting games. If your fighting game is free, you have there's no excuse. You know, anyone can just jump into the game, and you know, you could push the game on all storefronts. I don't know if this is going to be a PlayStation exclusive or not. I have no clue. I'm assuming possibly, I don't know, but you could push this on all storefronts through Xbox, through PlayStation, through PC. Push it, advertise it, try this game. It's free. You could just play it, and if you really like it, get the Battle Pass. The Battle Pass should come with a character immediately. I think the Battle Pass, like, you should get a character immediately. I know that, like, scares people. I'm like, whoa, that's locked content in the game. I think Street Fighter 4 already had that going for it, and people complained about it. It's definitely dangerous. It's definitely super, super dangerous, but I truly think that Street Fighter has the biggest uphill battle out of most fighting games. Obviously, like, a brand new IP would be daunting to release a brand new fighting game IP. Would be scary, and I wouldn't envy any dev or publisher that is publishing a brand new IP, but I also don't envy Capcom. It is not easy to make Street Fighter successful. I'll add one more thing that I think Street Fighter needs, just at the top of my head. It needs anime. It needs waifus. You need to make Ryu hot. Don't make him look like this weird gherkin looking, you know, gross dude. Make him look hot. Give him anime eyes. Give him pretty boy hair. You need to make Ryu hot. Chun-Li needs to be hotter than ever. You need to make Guile hot. You need to make Luke hot. I don't know what... I think the roster could change drastically. I think they could be doing, like, a Street Fighter 3 sort of situation where, you know, all of those guys that we played as before, they're all gone. Here's a bunch of new characters and a bunch of weirdos like a Q or like maybe the characters that were DLC are, like, the standard roster for a Street Fighter 6. I'm not quite sure. It has been like 3 games since Street Fighter 3, so it kind of makes sense in that way. It could be like another alpha game. It could, you know, if they were to do something drastic, like completely change the art style, I think it makes sense. Well, what's important is what you have to say. What is your thoughts on a Street Fighter 6? What does Street Fighter 6 have to do to be successful, to get you excited about the Street Fighter series? I know Street Fighter 5 definitely has its fans. I know people are happy with that game now. I've heard it's better. I'm kind of tempted to jump in and play it just to like get a feel for it and see what people are talking about. I've had people, you know, in my circles say, hey, Street Fighter 5 is a much better experience now, and I kind of want to see that. I kind of want to play that, and some of the characters look really, really cool as well. But I definitely think there is still room for improvement in terms of public eye, in terms of like how this game is being delivered to us. What do you think of my thoughts there, and what are some of your ideas for how a Street Fighter 6 can work? Let me know in the comments below. If you liked the video, hit that like button, that's super important, and subscribing as well. I play fighting games on Twitch, you could follow me there too. I appreciate all that stuff, and yeah, I think that's it. Take care and party on.
Prepare for the battle, prepare for the war, prepare for the real street fight and blood war. The third of the third, prepare to die for. Your life's on the line, so I'ma take yours. So who wanna blood dance with me? Leave your body wrapped up or even a street